This clip may be of some interest to certain Southern Florida residents who have benefited from a specialized dispensation on their immigration status.
In one of his final foreign policy decisions, President Obama is ending a 22-year-old policy giving special status to Cuban migrants who reach U.S. soil without visas. Under the so-called wet foot, dry foot policy, Cubans intercepted at sea are returned to their country, but Cubans who manage to reach American soil are allowed to stay and eventually apply for political residency. President Obama said, quote, "By taking this step, we are treating Cuban migrants the same way we treat migrants from other countries." And joining me now, Florida pollster and radio host Fernand Amandi. My friend Fernand, your reaction to this change, which also affects Haitian migrants because I think it takes away TPS, but your reaction to the change on wet foot, dry foot.
You know, Joy, it wasn't unexpected because all along this was going to be a natural consequence and byproduct of the normalization. What was surprising a little bit was the timing of the announcement coming really at the 11th hour of the Obama presidency. But because having given any sort of a date certain, in other words, if the president would have said, well, this policy will take effect at a certain date, it would have triggered a massive exodus of Cubans leaving the island. There is no way it could have been done any other way in which the way it was done, which was an immediate announcement with an immediate impact taking effect. But Joy, what I find the most interesting about the reaction to the wet foot dry policy is that it shows that, again, for certain members of the Republican Party, governing while Democrat is a big no-no, apparently, because many of the same Republicans who called for the end of this policy, recognizing the unfairness that it established and singling out the special status for Cuban coming over and crossing the island, are the first to criticize the actions by the president in having ended this last week, surprisingly.
Yeah, very interesting. And I want to talk a little bit about the politics of that real quick. I want to very quickly read the reaction of SEIU, Florida, both our friend Monica Russo, who runs that organization. She said, with immigrant families under threat by an administration that has promised to round up and deport millions of people, it's unbelievable that President Obama would refuse to protect the immigrant community as he's passing the torch to the Trump administration. He's out-Trumping Trump on immigration. On that piece about that Trump has promised to round up and deport millions of people, in your view, is this a little bit of politics on the part of the Obama administration, meaning subjecting a more Republican Hispanic constituency to the policies that they voted for other Latinos?
Joy, it's not a little bit of politics, it's 100% politics. This is a big steaming pile of shade burger that Barack Obama is leaving Donald Trump as he walks out the door of the Oval Office. Why? Because Donald Trump has the same executive power starting next Friday to reverse, with the stroke of a pen, this very initiative by Barack Obama. And Obama knows that Donald Trump cannot do that. And this is really the doomsday scenario for the Trump administration, because come January 20th at 1 o'clock, it is put up or shut up time. They can no longer do what they've been doing over the last 2 months, which is stay in campaign mode. It's now governing time, and they have to act with consequences and with actions, with the eyes of the world watching and no one else to blame, because Donald Trump and the Republicans own the government right now.
And what happens when we start to see on WTVJ and other Miami television news stations the spectacle of now Cuban migrants being sent back and not allowed to stay in the country? Does that have a political impact on the Republican Party?
It does for those Cubans that are already here in South Florida that are going to be seeing the potential cruelty of this policy take effect. And remember, their geographic positioning in Florida always is going to have political consequences. So Donald Trump is really here between a rock and a hard place, because if he grants this special status, and remember, he campaigned on the promise of overturning all of the Obama moves on Cuba, he is going to face potentially a political backlash here. And remember, a lot of folks and a lot of actors here are in the middle. Don't forget, Marco Rubio, who was very much for ending wet foot, dry foot right now, holds in his little hands the ability to block Rex Tillerson. So there's going to be some leverage points that take place over the next few days. A lot of folks are going to be seeing how President Trump reacts to this.
Yeah, and somebody who wants to run for president named Marco Rubio, who you just mentioned. It's going to be very interesting. Fernand Amandi, thank you so much for being here, and we will update this story soon, I'm sure.